This is our first edition in a series called Books That Build Sales. Basically, there's no secret. I'm a big believer in the more you learn, the more you earn. And perhaps never is this more true than when you make your living selling. But the more you understand the way people think, the more you understand the way you think, the way you understand how systems fit together and different people work with different people, the more learning you have, the more you're going to earn. Simple as that. So we're starting today with one of the seminal books in all of self-improvement, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's no secret that all of us have bad habits we wish we could get rid of, and we wish we could develop some good habits that would actually produce the results we want them to produce. So today, we're going to delve into this seminal belief. There's so many great quotes from this book that have become a very centerpiece for most self-improvement and sales training in this country. So we're going to really dig into how you can take the teachings from Atomic Habits and, quite frankly, just become a better salesperson. So that's first and foremost what we're looking at. I'm going to start off very simple with the core foundation of everything that James Clear teaches. And really, it's everything we teach in the Sales Success Society as well. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. 37 times better than you are right now. Imagine if you could take your commissions today and multiply them by 37 a year from now. Now, it probably doesn't always work out that commission-wise, but you will be significantly better at what you do. So many times when we think about making changes, we get hung up on these giant transformations that have to take place, and it gets overwhelming, and we run from them. So today we're going to focus on 1% improvements. Anybody can improve 1% on anything. And the result is, as you get better, even just marginally, those results compound. Now, in the sales world, what are some things you can look at? You can get 1% better at your prospecting. Just spend a little bit more time, 1% better at your prospecting every day. You can get 1% better at handling objections. So you're not, deer in the headlights when that objection pops up. You can get 1% better at following up and being consistent with the way you follow up with customers, 1% better on improvements in your closing techniques. Across the board, there's just so many things you can make small improvements to. Your energy levels, 1% more energy, 1% better, clearer presentation, 1% in the speed in which you get the contract ready to sign if they're ready to move, so they don't have time to talk themselves out of it. There's all of these little things which have a tremendous impact on our success levels. The 1% challenge. So as we go through this today, I want you to really think about what's your 1%. What is that one thing that you can immediately, starting right now, maybe not even starting tomorrow, starting right now, that you can improve? Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. You make small changes, you get big results. Now, here's the problem with goals. Most people, especially in the sales world, focus on how much they're going to make. I want to hit $1 million this year. I want to close 50 accounts. I want to be the number one person in my department. The problem is we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And for most of us, our systems suck. And you just have to admit that. For many of you, you may not even have systems for doing most of the things. So maybe the 1% improvement you need to make is have a system in the first place. So let's look at what the alternative to that is. Instead of focusing on you're going to sell $1 million this year, focus on you're going to do 20 prospecting calls every morning by 9 o'clock. Focus on you're going to follow up emails after meetings within 2 hours. Ask for referrals in every closing conversation. These are part of your habits. You're either doing them or you're not. And what we're going to focus on today is to make sure that you have the habits that will support the goals that you have. Does no good to have an elaborate goal if you don't have the systems in place to make that goal a reality. And your current results are the direct result of your current habits. Simple as that. Now, systems win. Systems win. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. Now, I want you to think about right now what your systems are day in and day out. I'm talking about your system for getting appointments, your system for lining up prospects, your system for, getting through the presentation, your system for asking referrals. What are the systems you have in place to make the things required to be a great salesperson happen? And if you're struggling thinking about it, there is an offside chance that you don't have any systems. And so what is one system we can implement this week? This is what we're working towards with this class. This is not some pie in the sky crap. This is about you leaving this class with a strategy of something you can improve immediately, which will have a direct impact. One of the beautiful, beautiful things about sales and sales training is the return on that investment is easily tracked. You know how many sales you're making right now. You know what objections you're getting. You know how many customers that are falling through the cracks because of your lack of systems. When you improve those areas, you can see the results immediately. And then the results you're really looking for will start to show up, which is more closed contracts and closed sales. So what's one system you can implement today? Not this week, but today, and think about that. First thing you need to do is you need to stop doing sales and start being a salesperson. One of the things that you will hear me talk about all the time is the be, do, have model. And it's so essential in sales. Now, what do I mean by that? We all have things we want to have, and we know in order to do them, we have to do certain things. We have to have those things. So if I want to make 100,000 a year, I know in order for me to do that, I have to do 10 appointments a week. Those are reasonable systems in place. Now, here's where we fall apart. What if I'm not the kind of person who does 10 appointments a week? Then I'm not going to do 10 appointments a week, and I'm not going to hit my goal. So the first thing we have to change is who we are, or more importantly, who we see ourselves as. Do we see ourselves as the person who will do those things? That's where your identity comes in. If you don't see yourself as the kind of person who will do 10 appointments a week, and you have a goal of 100,000, and it takes 10 a week to make 100,000, guess what? Your life's going to be miserable because you are not the person that you need to be to make that happen. True behavior change is identity change. If you're a guy that's always late for everything, your self-identity is the guy that's always late for everything. So it doesn't make any sense for you to show up on time because everybody's expecting you to be late anyway. Our self-identity becomes who we are because of the habits we have. And if you're not happy with what your self-identity is, then you need to change your habits. So let's focus on going from having to do to being. I have to make calls. I'm someone who builds relationships. I don't think you have to think real hard to see the difference in these two. And what happens is this different way of thinking bleeds its way into your life. One of the absolute truths is our brain has to be right all the time. Has to be right. And if we are in a situation where we believe that it's hard to make calls, our brain will make sure it's hard for us to make calls, and we hate it because it has to be right, even if it means self-sabotage. Second one, I need to hit quota. Next one, I'm someone who creates value. I should follow up. I'm someone who keeps my commitments. When you start to see yourself and your identity is that of someone successful, your habits start to change accordingly. Your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity. So now I want you to complete this sentence. I am someone who. And if the first thing that pops in your head is a negative, then you've got some work to do, because you're not going to change your habits if you identify yourself with your old habits. If your bad habits reflect who you think you are, then your bad habits aren't going anywhere. So the first thing you have to do is see yourself as someone who doesn't have those bad habits. Your blueprint for habit change. Here's how you change a habit. If you want to build a good habit, you make it obvious, you make it attractive, you make it easy, and you make it satisfying. When you do those things, it's very, very easy to develop a habit. The problem is we don't often do those very things. The flip side of that coin is if we've got bad habits, we do just the opposite. We have to make it invisible. We have to make it unattractive. We have to make it difficult, and we have to make it unsatisfying. We're not going to change a bad habit until we do those things. If it's in front of us, I mean, I can't tell you how many times over the years I've heard people that tried to quit smoking, and they always said, well, you know, I only smoke when I go to ball games. Well, the ball game is the cue, and so it triggers them to smoke. And you know, the best way, if you only smoke when you go to ball games and you are desperate to quit smoking, don't go to ball games. That's a pretty easy, simple. If you are trying to lose weight, don't keep a cake on the counter. Don't keep a cake on the counter. If you're trying to lose weight, make the habit invisible. Now, what does these really look like? They look like a flow. This is kind of a loop. You get some kind of visual cue or audible cue or something, situational cue, something that triggers a craving in you. And once you have that craving, you act on that craving. And when you act on that craving, you get a reward. That's the way all habits are structured. And if you want to make sure you have better habits, you need to control the various aspects of this loop. Because if you don't, the habits will control you. So let's start with that first one, designing your environment, the cue. As I mentioned, if you're trying to lose weight, don't leave a cake sitting on the counter. That's controlling your environment. And so if you're trying to create a good habit, think about your environment for that. What's the environment look right if you're trying to increase the number of sales you make to get appointments? It looks something like, I will make 10 phone calls at 8 o'clock each morning, sitting in my recliner. Now you've created an environment that you can start to associate with making calls. If you want to make a habit a big part of your life, make the cue a big part of your environment. Where you are, what time it is, what the situation is, all become part of the cue that you associate with a habit, good or bad. So if you control the cue, if you have a strong cue for a bad habit, don't put yourself in that position. If you can build a strong cue for a good habit, put yourself in that position as much as you possibly can and make those habits happen. Here's some practical examples. I'll make my prospecting calls 9 o'clock at my desk. I will update my CRM immediately after each call. What's the cue here? The cue is I make a call. The response is I need to go ahead and put that in my CRM. The action is I put in my CRM, and what happens? You feel good about it. Those little endorphins kick in. You're ready to start the next one. Feeling good about completing tasks and being on track to do something is one of the most powerful motivators you can have to make change. Another example is I will review tomorrow's appointment at 4:00. I look up, it's 4:00, it's time to review. That comes into play. Now, when you really take this to the next level, you start stacking your habits. So the first habit is the cues I make a call. The response and the action is I put it in my CRM. I feel good about putting it in my CRM because I've completed a task. Now I stack the second habit of making another call on the end of that one. And before I know it, I've got a habit stack that's actually producing results. So control those habits and use them as cues to do additional habits. Some of the best people in the world at handling their time and managing their time and being effective are the ones who learn to stack their habits. This is not about willpower. Some people think breaking an old habit or a bad habit is all about willpower. Some people think starting a new habit is all about willpower. And it's just not. It's just not. It's about all of the factors that cause you to have that habit in the first place and learning how to control them so that you can shift those factors into better habits that will move you along to where you want to be. Okay. To set up your environment, set up your space for success. Make sure your phone's charged and ready. Make sure your CRM's bookmarked. Make sure your scripts are prepared. Make sure you don't have any distractions. If you're in doing a presentation in front of somebody, make sure your phone's silenced so it doesn't interrupt you. Make sure your environment at all times is suitable for your good habits and your good performance. And you will start having better performance and your habits will start to be lean towards the good side. So make sure you control that. Next up, make it attractive. Reward yourself. Give yourself some rewards once you complete small tasks. That's how we do. I mean, the truth is, people that smoke, what's the reward they get? They get that little shot of nicotine that just gives them that little endorphin burst. It's not something they get 30 minutes later, a year later. It's something they get right at that moment. And so find what rewards you can give yourself after following your habit, this new habit you create, and make sure that those rewards happen fast and they happen relevant and you're able to use them as motivation to keep going. After I make 10 phone calls, I will watch a crazy cat video. Whatever it is that will reward you for doing the work will create a habit and go from there. Here's here's some examples. After 20 prospecting calls, I get to check social media. After updating my CRM, I get to have a cup of coffee. After a pipeline review, I get to listen to my podcast. These are things that you can do that reward yourself for actions taken. Make the hard stuff enjoyable by following them up with a reward. Next up, join the right tribe. Make sure you've got the support. One of the most effective things you can do to build better habits is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. If you're part of a group and everybody is doing the same things and normalizing good habits, you're going to find it very, very easy to stay on track. That's why, Alcoholics Anonymous works so well, because you have a group of people who are all celebrating the same wins. And that can become incredibly available. In sales, surround yourself with high performers. Don't hang out with the guy that hadn't made a sale in 6 months. Hang out with the guy that makes 4 sales a week. Learn from him, but more importantly, absorb his energy and see what he's doing that you can implement. What type of reward does he give himself or herself for doing the things it takes to be successful? And emulate that. Make it easy. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. So, in other words, don't go in and say, okay, my new habit is I'm going to make 60 phone calls before breakfast every morning. Well, that's something you can build up to, but it's not something you're going to do immediately. And you're going to get beat down very, very quickly. You're going to get beat down by that. Start small and build momentum. Here's what that can look like. Follow up with all my prospects. Instead, I'm going to start by sending one follow-up email. See how easy that habit would be if you were just starting with one email. And when we're talking about the 1%, so let's say you send out 3 or 4, make whatever you're currently doing just a little bit bigger. You send out 5 a day, make it 6. If you follow up with 2 prospects a day, that's 10 a week, make it 12. Small changes result in very, very big results. Master the objection handling. Don't say, I'm going to be an expert in handling objections immediately. No. Just practice one particular objection. When they say this, I'm going to say this. That's that small 1% improvement that builds up. And guess what? Once you get used to saying that, you can add something else. Do a second one. Don't say I'm going to build a prospecting system. You're just going to add a contact to your CRM. Simple as that. Keep it very, very easy, and you'll find it makes it easier. Reducing friction. One of the sad things about human beings, but it's also one of our foundational beliefs, is we will do the thing that requires the least effort. It's a good thing to remember about your customers as well. If you make it hard for your customers to say yes, they will never say yes. You have to make it very easy. We will follow the path of least resistance. Whatever we can accomplish with the least amount of effort will be what we accomplish 90% of the time. Now, occasionally you'll have those instances where we'll go beyond that, but for the most part, we go for the least resistance. So it's the same way with habits. If you make it so easy for you not to continue doing a habit, guess what you'll do? You'll not continue the habit. On the other hand, if you make it so easy to continue your bad habits, you'll continue their bad habits. Remember, breaking habits is not about willpower. We're going to lose the battle of willpower every single time. Breaking habits is about creating systems which overcome some of the elements of those habits. Eliminate the cues, eliminate the rewards, create rewards when it's accomplishing something you need to accomplish. Make good habits easier, make bad habits harder. Next up, make it satisfying. Track your wins. One of the things I encourage everybody to do daily is to keep a wins journal. Keep track of how many times you won. We all make hundreds of decisions every day between what we feel like doing and what we know we should do. Most of the time we pick wrong. Most of the time we eat the cake instead of the apple. Most of the time we park close to the building instead of further away and walk. Most of the time we get on Facebook instead of making our calls. But when you do make the right decision, celebrate that. Celebrate that, because that's what keeps you going, is celebrating your daily wins. So I would encourage you, if you don't keep one, keep a wins journal, where every time you make the right decision, when you do something you know you should do, rather than what you feel like doing, write it down and celebrate it. And what'll happen when you write it down, you're going to feel really good about it. And the more you feel good, the more you will find yourself starting to side on the what you know you should be doing more often, because you're trying to repeat that good feeling you had. That's how habits are formed. One of the most satisfying feelings in the world is that you're making progress. And when you celebrate your wins, guess what you're doing? You're making progress. And that comes in. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately published is avoided. We see this all the time. If you reward yourself for making 10 calls, you are much more likely to make 10 more. If you punish yourself for not making 10 calls, there's no chance in the world that you're going to make any more. What is rewarded is repeated. What is punished is avoided. Celebrate your small wins immediately. Immediately, and you'll see a quick change. Never miss twice. We all stumble. We all trip. We all fall short of what we're trying to accomplish. When you decide you're breaking a bad habit and you stumble and do it again, don't fall back into your old day-to-day habits. Count it as a mistake and move on. Move on. If you miss a day, get back on track. Don't break the chain. If you do, start a new one immediately. The faster you can put your mistakes behind you, and you're going to make them, but the faster you can put them behind you, the more likely you are to make permanent change. Now, what happens, unfortunately, is when we start to make changes, often the impact of those changes trails behind our efforts. There's always this period of time. There's usually, when we start a new habit, there will be some results we'll see almost immediately. It makes us feel good. You start going to the gym, you will find yourself with more energy almost immediately. You'll see those numbers on that scale drop almost immediately. You'll feel stronger almost immediately. And for those first couple of weeks, you're ready to take on the world because you're feeling the impact of the changes you make. But then what happens? Things plateau. Scale stops showing that you're gaining anything. You're not more energetic now than you used to because you've forgotten what you used to feel like. And it's only a matter of time before you result back to your old habits because you're not able to power through that disappointment. Breakthrough moments are often the result of many previous actions that comes into play. I love this quote here from Greg Popovich, the coach of the San Antonio Spurs, one of the true legends of coaching. And he references a stone cutter. When nothing seems to help, I go look at a stone cutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet, at the 101st blow, it splits in two. And I know it was not the last blow that did it, but all of them that had gone before. And that's the way it always is when you're making changes. Everything impacts. If something you're doing isn't working for you, it's working on you. And if it's working on you, it's working to a point where it will eventually work for you. You are becoming the person that can do those things. Your identity is changing, hopefully internally and externally. Okay, now I want you to think about your 30-day game plan. What are you going to do? We're going to focus on week 1. I want you to complete the sales habit scorecard. Now, I've got that available for download. I'll tell you how in just a second. I want you to choose one foundational habit. In sales, that's either going to be prospecting more, making more phone calls, doing more appointments, handling more objections. Those are your foundational habits. They're the ones that most immediately impact your sales results. So pick one, create an implementation plan, and design your environment for success. Don't do it in front of the TV. Don't do it while watching a ball game. Figure out where you need to be enforcing that habit so that you're able to make real change. The secret to getting results that last is to never stop making improvements. Keep making those 1% improvements. So that's week 1. After that, week 2, add some habit stacking and start tracking results. Week 3, apply the 2-minute rule. Make sure every new habit you're trying to build can be completed in 2 minutes. If it can't, it needs to be broken down into smaller and smaller pieces. Week 4, create some rituals, join a community, and start to see your success grow. Small habits don't add up, they compound. And it's 1% on this, 1% on that, 1% on this, 1% on that. And you will not recognize the person you're becoming and the level of success that you're getting. They compound. So what will you start today? Success is not a goal to reach or a finish line to cross. It is a system to improve, an endless process to refine. Get better and better at your systems, and the results will follow. Start today, start small, and be very consistent. Now, I do have some bonus materials that'll help you implement this stuff. I mentioned the habit scorecard. I also have an implementation intention worksheet, which you work through and try to come up and nail down your actual strategy. I have a habit tracker, which will allow you to keep track of how often you do these habits and create those chains of successes and wins that will feed you on. And then we got a 30-day challenge calendar that you can use to make sure that 30 days from now, you have fixed something. Either you've added a good habit that you now have as a regular part of your life, or you have completely eliminated a bad habit that was holding you back. If you want any of those 4 things, drop me an email at john@thejpbusinessacademy.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some of our other offerings that come into play. Right now, we have 3 main things that we're offering at the JP Business Academy to help you not only improve your habits, but to make you a better salesperson. As I mentioned, sales is such a unique experience in that you can immediately know whether your investment in training and coaching is paying off or not. If you make X sales month in, month out, you start a new program and now you're making twice that, it's pretty easy to point to what it was that made the change. So really keep that in mind. The first product is IHateObjections.com. This is a free online course we have for handling the objection. I need to think about it. If you've sold for very long at all, this is your personal enemy, your personal bailiwick. When you do a great presentation, you get to the end and the person looks at you and instead of pulling out their credit card, they say, I need to think about it. It's like ripping out your soul. It's like ripping out your soul. And this course will prepare you for that situation. It will minimize the number of times that situation occurs by setting it up earlier in the presentation. But more importantly, it will give you the tools to handle that objection and get back on track so you can turn those maybes into money. The next one is the Sales Success Society as a whole. This is an online sales training and support community I've built. All of the courses that you will ever see me do are available for free inside the Sales Success Society. I say for free. You have to be a member to access it. There's several membership opportunities there with that. I would encourage you, if you're really looking to make substantial long range goal. And then finally, on a lighter side, 40 Flushes to Grow Your Business, the world's #2 business series. It's an educational bathroom reader that uses cartoons, jokes, and poems to teach essential business and sales ideas. Some people just don't want to think real hard, but they know they need help. This 40 Flushes is the perfect tool for that. And for those of you out there who sell B2B or advertising, this is a great, great gift idea for your clients. It teaches them essential business laws, essential business ideas in a very fun and informative way. If you have any questions about any of this or want to follow up for a consultation, love to meet with you. We actually go through a survey and figure out exactly where you're dropping the ball and what we can improve to take your sales to that next level. I'd love to sit with all of you and do the survey. So reach out, john@thebusinessacademy.com. Let's schedule a time to meet and chat and see if we can begin to put your sales career on the track you want it to be on.